and welcome to my channel in which I would like to discuss with you the core concepts related to the data warehouse and advanced analytics. And my channel is mostly emphasized based on the ideas of how to actually verify the data warehouse and analytics solutions. So without further ado, let's get down to the business. Uh, so what I would like to discuss into this presentation is uh, what is this all about? So the idea of having this channel is to actually share my knowledge and experience with you guys, which I have had through the course of my career, and discuss with you what is actually the data warehouse and analytics all about, and the core concepts of actually testing the solutions and to meet the customer satisfaction, because the customer satisfaction is the most important matter in all the software development lifecycle. So this is also a special branch of software development lifecycle. So we would like to discuss how to actually achieve our goals. What are Who are the customers to the data warehousing to data warehouse and analytics, advanced analytics? Consider yourself in a situation in which you have different customers, and the customer actually comes to you. You have a showroom of cars, and the customer actually comes to you and say, "Hey, show me something really special that you have with you." So you start showing them different solutions, but they will end up having a limousine for themselves. So the customers that they actually the ones who actually buy these advanced analytics solutions and data warehouse solutions are the limousine in the whole software market. So they are the niche customers. They are very special customers which have very special needs. So you have to satisfy the customer requirements as well as the customer needs in order to be successful into this business. So it's not really just a very usual business, a very special. Um, I would say it's not really the usual software development. Rather, it's a very niche skill. So in order to be successful into this field, one has to be very clear about what they actually need, how they can actually achieve their goals, and how can they actually meet the customer satisfaction. So that's very important. Before getting into how to actually test the systems, we need to understand what we're actually dealing with. So I would like to explain to you a little bit about the data warehousing. What is actually a database? What is actually a data warehouse? The difference between the data warehouse and the database. What is a relational model? The data source, the heterogeneous and homogeneous systems as well. Uh, and what is actually the advanced analytics all about? So we will talk about the data, we will talk about the data predictions and all that stuff. So that is the part of my presentation, and we'll have some examples, and of course we will get right into the business once we have once I've already explained to you some core concepts about this. So brief introduction about my profile, that's very important. I started as a test manager to the or as an advanced analytics consultant back in 2007. Uh, with the company which specializes in the data warehouses and advanced analytics solutions. So my idea was actually I started as a test consultant, but then I realized that the testing is a very specialized field in this field. So I have to be very vigilant, and I have to be very understanding, and my core concept and foundation have to be very strong in order to test those solutions. Otherwise it will make no sense at all. So that's how I started off, learning the different concepts, educating my own self, making my foundation in order to better serve the customers as well. But my core has always been testing, because I've been a test consultant for about now 17 years already, and I started my career back in 2005 as a test consultant and automation test consultant. So I am actually working as an test consultant at the moment as well. So the idea is I started as a test consultant, and then I moved to advanced analytics, which was actually a challenge to me. And then through the course of my career, I learned, and I've served different customers like Nokia in Finland, TeliaSonera, which is one of the biggest telecommunication companies in Sweden. Then I have served 3 years Emirates Airlines in Dubai, in which I was working as a test lead and and a technical pre-sales consultant to the advanced analytics and data warehousing solutions. And then I was working for about 5 years in Ireland and UK, where we established a data warehouse for a renowned bank in the UK. And all of these customers, as I mentioned, are high-profile customers. So they have a very special needs in order, and they would like to actually see uh, uh, a certain parameters being addressed through the data warehouse and core concept and advanced analytics. So what kind of requirements do they have? In order to better understand this, they would like to actually, for instance, if I talk about the telecommunication customers, they would like to see which customer will leave them in the next 3 months, for instance. So you have different parameters, and you start analyzing the data based on that. Based on that. And for the rest of the customers, the idea is, let's say, if you're dealing with a retail customer, the retail customer would like to see when would a certain product run out, and when should they order a certain a product, and what is the most popular product, and what is the combination of the best products that they actually can keep near to each other, so the customers can actually have the access to the right products, and they don't have to actually move from aisle to aisle in order to get a certain product for themselves. So that's the idea of a little bit that's a very basic idea of what I actually intend to present to you. And then we will start off right away with the testing the data warehousing and advanced analytics, and I will present to you some ideas which I have learned through my experience. So please stay with me, and you're encouraged to subscribe to my channel as well, because the information that I will share with you, you probably would not find this on the internet, because this is all my own experience and my own expertise which I have gained through the course of my career, and of course I will share the best practices with you as well. So speaking of the core concepts, what is actually a database? So when I talk about the database, a database in a very crude definition is a storage of data where you have different tables, and those tables have different have relationship within themselves. So there are tables in which you have certain type of data, and then those tables are actually related to each other. So this is very basic example, a definition of a database. What is actually a data warehouse? Suppose yourself in a situation, in a real-time situation, where you have, let's say, you have a storage. So you have a very big area in which you store the products that you actually would supply to the customers. So you have different customers, you have a very big storage, and then those storages actually fulfill a certain amount, certain customers' requirements. So in short, once you have this data in your data warehouse, and it will eventually serve the purpose to certain to answer certain business requirements from the customers. So we call it a data warehouse. What is actually the difference between a data warehouse and a database then in that case? Because most of the times when you go to someone and you have an interview, let's say, and you're sitting with the customer, and maybe you apply for a job as an advanced analytics and a data warehouse consultant, they will ask you the first basic question. So what is the difference between a data warehouse and a database? So the simplest answer to this question is, a database is nothing but a storage of data. And the data warehouse is a special purpose database. It's a special purpose database. It is actually a database at the end. It's a special purpose database which holds a large amount of data. So why a large amount of data means they have a huge amount of data. So you can't really predict. So the least of that I've actually seen is in terabytes. So you have terabytes of data into one table as well. There is a possibility, and they can have multiple terabytes of data as a data warehouse solution, as a whole complete running solution has a um, um, terabytes of data. So you can't really say that it's a terabytes of data. How much would this be? We have different concepts of actually to gauge the capacities, which is called a capacity planning for a data warehouse as well. So that's another concept. We probably would have a presentation over that as well. So I would like to discuss some ideas about that as well. So in short, to summarize this, a database is a database, and a data warehouse is a collection of databases. So in most of the cases, in, uh, in fact, in all of the cases, the data warehouse has databases as their sources. What is actually within a data warehouse? So you have the relational models. So I would like to discuss with you also the relational models a little bit briefly. So what is the relational model? So whenever you talk about the relational models, you always talk about the relations. So what is relation? It can be within itself. The data has to be related. The data has the data has to be the redundancies removed and all that stuff, which we actually discuss, which we actually study in the relational database models subjects in our universities. So you remove the redundancy, you remove you have the related data. So you will eventually have the first normal form, and then you and the second normal form respectively. Once you have the relationships between the tables defined in the form of primary and foreign keys, you will have a third normal form, and this is exactly what we actually need in order to establish a data warehouse. Um, Nowadays, back in 2007 was mostly the data sources were tables and the flat files and all that stuff. uh, Nowadays, which we used to call back then the homogeneous sources. So you have different kinds of sources, which we used to call them homogeneous sources. Why I say they're homogeneous? Because they are the same kind. They have the same nature. They are the tables. They have the tables. They have the data warehouse. They have the they have the databases. In those databases, you have tables, and then those tables are being exported and imported into the data warehouse in order to do some predictions over them, and to do some operations over them. Why is this now heterogeneous? After all these years, now we have different kinds of data sources. We not only have the textual and the table types of the data, the relational data. Rather, we also have the audio files, the video files, and whatnot. So there are multiple sources of data that we have, and we have the ways of actually uploading them into the data warehouses and do some predictions over that as well. So you can analyze the data, the audio systems, the audio files, the video files, and all that stuff, and then you can actually uh, and then you can actually make some analytics over that as well. So what is actually the advanced analytics? Whenever we talk about, so we have already talked about a lot of other stuff as well. So what is actually the advanced analytics all about? So advanced analytics is mostly about the data itself. Regardless of the type of the data can be whatever. As I mentioned, if you see the data sources can be heterogeneous and homogeneous, as well as the data can be homogeneous and heterogeneous as well. So you can have a combination of um, the audio files and the data files as well. the audio and text so that you can actually do some analytics over it, and then you can see actually if your purpose is being fulfilled and if you have any problems in the data. Why I wanted to talk about this is the heart of the analytics. The data is the heart of the analytics. If you do not have the right data, if you do not have the data, if you do not have the sufficient data, you do not have the right data, then you probably would not have the right results as well. So it's like the garbage in, garbage out situation that we used to always talk about back in the 90s. So the concept is actually the same. You have loopholes in the data, you have holes in the data. Hole in the data means you have gaps in the data. You do not have the continuous series of the data, then you will have the problems in the data as well, and it's not usable. You do not have the related data, then you will have the problem again. So in order to have the right data, right predictions, you need the right data, the related data, uh, and a very good amount of data in order to make predictions over it as well. So let's say if you need to see a trend uh, for 6 months or for 1 year long, a customer trend for usage trend for what, let's say if you need to see the customer usage trend, the data usage trend for an internet company, um, and you would like to see the the trend of the customer and what is the customer behavior, then you need actually a good amount of data. So we have a concept of the data in the data warehouse, which is called, let's say, hot data, the cold data. So what is the hot data? The data which is in progress at the moment, and the customer has not finished his transaction, his or her transaction, and this data is let's say is for a period of time. It's called the hot data. For the advanced analytics solutions mostly talk about the cold data itself. So what is the cold data actually? So the cold data is the history of the customer, and you will find mostly the history of the history data in the data warehouse, because the data warehouse, as I mentioned, is a huge amount of data. They hold a huge amount of data. So what you need to do is you need to start analyzing the customer trends by looking at the history of their usage of the data. For instance, I use mostly the Google search engine, but I have been using a certain other search engine for my searches a little earlier. So there is one that's one that's one indicator that I have now started using another search engine, because the previous search engine was not actually suffices my business my requirements for search. So that's something which actually is belongs to a trend, and this actually shows a spike and a dip in the trends. So this is kind of a prediction, a predictive analytics actually can you help you out identifying such trends. Um, so what are actually the customers, the core customers and the usual customers are actually interested into it? Suppose you are actually looking into um, you're talking about a customer, a telecommunications customer, for instance. So most of the telecommunication customers are interested in looking into the churn of the customers. For instance, if I am not using my mobile device for like 3 months and my subscription has been is becoming stagnant for any reason, then they will then it should raise an alarm to the customer that I will probably might leave the service, or I've already left the service, or I've decided to leave the service. So what they will do is after a certain while they will start giving me offers, because their systems are actually indicating that I will leave the service and I'm not satisfied with the service. So they will probably start getting in touch with me so that they can actually so that they can actually help me out and address my problem so that I stay on the network. With regards to the retail customers, for instance, the retail customers are mostly those customers which are mostly, as I mentioned already during my presentation earlier, they would like to see which are the products which are more fascinating to the customers, and which combinations are most fascinating to the customers, and which aisles are getting are need to be replenished, and they are getting actually emptied because of the rush hours to the customers. And what are the actual rush hours to the customers as of the customers as well? Are they actually buying something on over the weekend? Are they buying something? Are they not buying something, let's say on Mondays? What are the rush hours, what are not the rush hours, what products can be put on the rebates, and which products are running out of the expiry dates. So this is something that kind of the information that the customer actually would like to see, the core customers to the business advanced analytics, and the business analytics customers as well. So I think this is it from my presentation for this side for today. And I would like to continue making more videos on a frequent basis so that we can actually get in touch. And you'll have my knowledge, and definitely I would like to share my knowledge with you. So thank you very much